anybody who knows me knows how much I absolutely love this woman. I just adore her, love everything about her, her message. She's so inspiring, she's so empowering, and yeah, this is just like a dream come true for me. So heading off to the airport now to catch a flight over to Los Angeles. So I've got my hair done and everything, so I've got curly hair, got my makeup on. Time span is quite short, so I'm praying, fingers crossed, that there are no delays, because everything is pretty tight at the moment. But I cannot tell you how excited I am to be meeting Michelle Obama. Yay!
I've been waiting for this, yeah. It's been up on my mind, though it's hard to resist. Feeling like one of a kind. Oh, now the hard time's over. I'm for a moment. I won't look back now. Yeah, and it's moving closer. I can feel it coming. Oh, now it's my time now. Oh, now when I look back, it's like it's another game that I'm playing now. 'Cause it's finally here, finally, yeah, yeah. Oh, 'cause it's finally here, finally, yeah. Ooh. I've been staring again, gazing at the night sky, and even though it's the same, it feels like I got new eyes. Oh, now the hard time's over. I'm for a moment. I won't look back now. Yeah, and it's moving closer. I can feel it coming. Oh, I know it's my time now. 'Cause it's finally here, finally, yeah, yeah. Oh, 'cause it's finally here, finally, yeah.
It's good to be able to make your own cheese toast.
Yeah, yeah. What kind of cheese do you use?
Cheddar.
Cheddar. Do you use the kind that you slice yourself or that is already sliced?
You know, that night we didn't have the shredded, so I cut up from a cube.
Great.
So I
Good
did
to
the
know.
whole switching from the toaster and into the microwave.
Yes.
So I still have some cooking skills with my Barbies. You know, there was love and lust, and G.I. Joes would come in. There were relationships, and you know, I'd sort of bring in the blocks, and they'd have characters, and I ruled that little universe, and I liked it like that. And I knew early on, I thought about going outside with the other kids, but I would look out the window, and it's like, messy. I'm still Michelle Robinson.
Yeah.
Right? The form is filled up. And my mother is the kind of person, wait, y'all, but my mother is the kind of person who says, why are all these people here? And I'm like, I don't know, Mom. I agree. I mean, she's like, who are they coming to see? And it's like, Mom, I am Michelle Obama. She's like, yeah, but I don't. Are they coming to see? Is there music playing? Is there a band? And I'm like, no. So that can get in my head every now and then, and I start thinking, yeah, who do I think I am? Like doing this big tour. I mean, what if it's all just a bad book? You know, so I have those times. So I was sort of having a little panic attack, and Barack had to sit me down and said, the book is great. You're going to be great. You're fabulous. He's so sweet. And I called my brother because I was having all these emotions, because I think because I'm like my mother. You just sort of downplay everything. You don't ride the highs too high, you don't ride the lows too low. And that's how she parented us. And like Malia said in the clip, all throughout the campaign, all this that we were doing, I was so busy trying to let the girls know that this is not a big deal. And you have to go to school, and you have to behave yourselves, and do not act like you are not special. Just keep it going. And yes, it's a crowd. It's a crowd. It's not for you. Go sit down. Nobody cares. You know, act right. Stop whining. You know, I'm still doing all that. So they're sort of like, well, yeah, this isn't a big deal until election night. And they're like, Dad, you know, there are people crying. Mom said this wasn't a big deal, but there are people crying. That's like my mother, you know. So I realized I spent 8 years just trying to say, this is, you know, we go to parent-teacher conferences and there'd be SWAT guys on top of the roof, you know, security. And I tell the kids, it's normal, just go to school. This is how we're living now, just don't look up, that's not for you. And I'm living like that. So the weekend before we started, I had a panic attack. It's like, this has all been a big deal, and I didn't realize it. So I called my brother and I was like, this is a big deal. What we did for the last 8 years was a big deal. Well, I'll take the New Hampshire speech after the Access Hollywood tape and how that happened, because it is the typical process. I was campaigning for Hillary, and I was scheduled to do a speech in New Hampshire, so the speech was already scheduled, and then the videos come out, and there's chatter, and we're preparing our regular stump speech, and I told my team, there's no way I can go out and just campaign and not address this. There's just no way. That's just false. It would be tone deaf. Tone deaf. So I had some time to think about, so yeah, I have my speech writing team. There are two of us, Tyler and Sarah, you know, my heart. Does anybody know Tyler and Sarah?
Hey, Tyler and Sarah.
So what we usually do is come together and we have a conversation about how I'm thinking. And so we had one of those preliminary conversations. They went away, did a draft, I read it, I was like, this isn't strong enough, this isn't what I want. So I was like, take it back, let's all sit on it, let's look at it. In the meantime, my mom had back surgery. I talk about it in the book. I think I called it minor back surgery. The one edit was like, it wasn't minor, it was major. That was her one edit reading the book. I was like, okay, Mom, it was major back surgery. That's not the point. So for the record, it was major back surgery. And we were having it in the medical suite at Walter Reed, so there's a presidential suite. That's a whole nother sidebar about life in the White House. We have really good health care. So she's in the suite having her operation, and I'm there in the waiting room, and I start really thinking about this stuff, and a lot of times what I want to say does just come to me. And while I was sitting there throughout my mother's surgery, I essentially wrote that speech verbatim. Everything that I felt and I knew I wanted to say. Sometimes things just become clear. And it was so clear that I got on a conference call, I called everybody, I said, get everybody on the phone, I know what the speech should say. And I wrote out the outline for it. And they went back, did the edits, and shaped it. And I knew when I'm telling the truth, I'm not afraid. Yeah, I mean, so I was anxious about giving it because I thought, I know how I feel. And what I knew I wanted to do at that time was to take women to that place that we know, where we know how we feel when we're demeaned, we all have experienced that at some point in time, and a lot of people, women don't have the platform to say it out loud, but we all know that feeling. In the book I describe it as women are subjected to indignities throughout their entire lives, and in the form of cuts. And some of the cuts are small, paper thin. Maybe it's somebody who told you you weren't good enough. Maybe it's somebody that made fun of your shape or your height. Maybe the cut was a little deeper and it was verbal abuse, and somebody, really took you to a negative place. Maybe it was a cat call. You know, that feeling when you're walking down the street and some man just feels like they can comment on your body. You know, I felt that even as a young, the fury I would feel in my body when a guy would just come and walk up and look me up and down. It was a visceral kind of, how dare you? That's a cut. Every time that happens, it's a cut. We don't talk about it, but it hurts. And then there's the physical abuse that some women endure and don't say a word. Those cuts are deeper. We're covered in cuts. You know, then there's just stereotypes and oppression. We're covered in cuts, and I don't know that men really understand what we bear as women. Because in the world, the sad thing is, women aren't necessarily safe in this world. We are at risk to being cut all the time. And I wanted to bring voice to that for women. I knew every woman knows what that feels like. You know, you're just putting up with some man's voice saying some stuff that is inappropriate and out of line, and they think it's a joke. And it has a lasting impact, because even if you don't deal with it, you take that home and you're mad, and maybe you take it out on your kid. It's that cut you're dealing with, and you're bleeding. I wanted to articulate that feeling for women, because my hope was that if you can feel that, if women can really feel that, then maybe they'll do something about it, because they have the power to stop it, to vote against it. And I wanted men to hear it. I wanted men to be aware of it, to voice that this stuff, the things you think are games, the stuff you play with, your ego, that hurts us. You know, so that speech became clear, and I was ready to give it, and I didn't really care. You know, it was also second term, so I was sort of like, you know what? I am done worrying about what people think. You know, it's time to put some truth out there. We'll change minds, and I think we changed a lot of minds, but you will always have haters. Right. You will always, it doesn't matter what you do in life, there will, you don't strive to achieve 100% perfection. It doesn't happen. Nobody's gonna always agree with you. And I would have to tell myself, there will be people, you know, that you will never have a 100% approval rating. That doesn't happen. There will be people who are afraid of you, who just don't understand. This is where context comes in, and I have to tell myself, I have to put myself in people's positions. They don't really know us, and they only know what they're being told. And I'm not even gonna assume that they're bad people. I'm gonna assume that they don't know. So it's my job to do my best to be part of educating them and being a different kind of light in the world to them. And you can't do that if you're cursing them out in the photo line at the holiday party.